28 of Brewed Opinions. We're here in the pod, and we've got a special guest, KT.
The champ is here, and not that one. The real champ, Shane Evans of PWR Wrestling.
The first and only champion of PWR Wrestling, Shane the Element Evans. What's going on, dude?
Not a whole lot. I appreciate you guys having me on. Real champ, not the real last champ or whatever John Cena calls himself.
Yeah, that
last real champion, whatever it is. But yeah, everything, happy to be here.
Awesome, man.
Looking forward to this.
We've been talking about this a long time. We've had our relationship with PWR, but now I believe it's official. We've got the champ in that. It's not official until you have the champ here.
That's right.
Well, yeah. I appreciate that. Appreciate the kind words.
Absolutely. So, Shane, we first saw you about 5 months ago in the heavyweight, before a champ was even crowned, in the heavyweight tournament with your match against Ramos. It was a hard-hitting match, cold night. OBs, you guys wrestled all over the bar. Tell us a little bit about kind of what started with that, tournament and what eventually, crowning you the champ.
Yeah, so I was pretty much done with wrestling. I had been out of it for like 8 years, and came back about a year ago, right around this time a year ago. We did like a reunion show. I trained really hard, got in really good shape for it. Got hurt at that show as well on a suicide dive. I was walking funny for like the next 3 weeks after that. And that was in May of last year. So fast forward to the early beginnings of PWR, and I wasn't really wanting to come back. I was pretty content being away from it, not wanting to risk, getting hurt, things like that. And
yeah, as you get older, man, and you got family and you got things, it's like
priorities change.
Do I have to am I still chasing this dream?
Well,
or
not only that, but I have plates and screws in my arm, and this arm actually doesn't even twist.
Oh.
So but at the same time, it's it's reinforced. It's a shame that I don't have all that in this arm that I throw the lariat with, but that's beside the point. But yeah, he invited me to come back. He said, "Yeah, I would love you to be a part of this tournament." So that was actually round 2 against Ramos. Round 1, I wrestled Ali Muhammad, and the crowd got really into it, and I was hooked. And I was like, "Yeah, I love this again."
I mean, you're the hometown boy, born and raised in DeLand. When you won the title, we loved it. I mean, West DeLand, KT's been chanting DeLand every time you're out there. So what did that mean to you, like being in your hometown, brand new wrestling promotion that you're very involved with the creation of? What did that mean for you to finally hold up that belt?
Well, I'm not necessarily involved with the creation, and the reason I say that is because I don't want anybody to get the idea that certain decisions are made that are going to benefit me.
Right.
I do give suggestions, opinions, things like that, try to help other guys out. But to answer your question, I wish I remembered that moment because I was concussed.
That is
I was
right.
Concussed.
Yeah.
I literally don't remember the last 10 minutes of that or whatever it was. There's about a 10-minute window from the point I got hurt until I don't remember anything. I remember just kind of being in the back, and everybody standing around me, and I was like, "What's going on?" I do remember at the end of the match, because I had a stinger in my neck and I think a mild concussion as well. I remember physically struggling to even hold the belt up because how much pain I was in. I was struggling to hold it. And I was like, "Man."
I actually remember. I remember you actually.
We were actually legit concerned because I was with Brady, and I even said, "Dude, is Shane okay? That looked bad."
It was.
And it looked like everybody involved was, in the good sense, they were taking care of you.
They were.
That's what this business is all about. You take care of there's more to it than just what we see on TV. But
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was a scary moment. Everybody was good to me though. Ref Rob, he wanted to call the match, and I was like, "We can't. It's for the title. It's what they're here for." And fortunately, the fans were behind me. They saw I was down, but they cheered, and I was able to catch Tyrus off guard, hit him with that roll up 1, 2, 3. But kind of going back to answering the question, in hindsight, it means a lot. To be able to represent the land and to grow a business and a brand here in town. I don't, in my whole life living here, there's never really been a Fed here in DeLand. There's been Feds that have run in DeLand, but never an established one that is a constant. And it's an honor and a privilege to be a part of that.
One of the things that we see on TV, Cody's talked about it, what it's like to be the champion of an organization that the belt gets heavier and heavier. Like, explain that to us as fans. I mean, in the end, me and KT are fans. So
Yeah, we've never had a belt.
Yeah, we've never wrestled in a ring, but we want to know, like, what does that feel like? Do you feel the pressure? Do you feel that you have to go above and beyond, and almost like we were talking off camera, that you feel like you're involved in a lot of different matches, let alone just yours?
Not so much the pressure. I'm gonna quote Peyton Manning here. He said this a long time ago, and like in Indy, like, pressure is what you feel when you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah. It's awesome.
And I'm confident in what I'm doing, but it's more just like not the pressure of it. I'm trying to think of the right word to articulate it, but just more of like the
concentration it takes.
It's the anticipation of like, as we're building up to, like, all right, we got to this match and now this match, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah. You were saying to us earlier, like, it's not so much stress, but it's just like, I'm going on at the end of the night, and I've got to sit here and think about this for 3 hours.
And I care about all these other guys.
And I want this thing to do good.
Not even 3 hours, because by the time the show has started, I've already been there for probably 5 hours.
Right. Setting up. And then you're going to break down. Like, I mean, people, independent wrestling, man, like, this is awesome that we got this guy on
tonight.
There's
no roadies. The wrestlers are the roadies.
These guys are throwing everything together. They're there at probably, I would imagine, like 9 a.m.
9:30 in the morning, yeah.
Yeah, and then they're not even getting home till
midnight,
2 a.m. if they even live farther. Like, it's a whole process of putting this show together, and it's amazing, man. So it's just like, enjoy what independent wrestling provides for people.
Absolutely. I mean, tell us a little bit about, like, your first love and how you got into the business, or how you even thought about wrestling, and then that, leading up to now you're the champion of a local organization that you grew up in. Town.
Yeah, definitely. To answer your question, so I grew up watching wrestling a little bit with my grandfather. He was actually at New Year's now. He's 96 years old, and he got to see that, and that was like a huge thing for me as well.
That's awesome.
But he would watch it, and I would like watch it with him, but I was like young, I was born in the very end of 1988.
So who were the big players? Like
I remember
Hogan.
I remember the Mega Powers.
We've talked about Hogan, Macho.
Yep.
Like
the Mega Powers, and then Brett and Shawn, of course. Yep. And but I was actually more of a WCW guy. It was my dad and my brother rented WCW and NWO World Tour for N64. We played it. Probably going to be controversial to bring this up, but my preferred wrestler to use was Chris Benoit.
Oh no, we're big Chris Benoit.
Okay, in the ring.
In the ring.
Yeah.
I love the German suplexes, the crossface, the intensity, all. And it's funny because I played with him in the game, but then I remember like watching the first Nitro after like getting the game for that weekend, and it was Chris Benoit versus Raven, and I don't even remember what year it was. I want to say it was like 97, 96, somewhere around there, and I was like, that's what he looks like, because he looks different in the game. It's N64 graphics.
And Chris Benoit was one of these.
He was one of those. He was one of those.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about in this, just kind of going back to Chris Benoit, like we talked about in this pod, the night the Radicals showed up on WWE TV was, Benoit, Eddie Guerrero, Dean Malenko, and Perry Saturn. When they showed up, like, Chris Benoit, I love the night that Benoit and Guerrero won both titles at WrestleMania.
Amazing.
Was probably one of the best WrestleMania, that you never thought Vince was going to give the title to guys that were that size. He was always a big guy. Vince always was a big guy. So, like, Benoit is, we love
Not
Benoit.
to mention they came from the competition. We've talked many times about the Monday Night Wars and how, like, because going back to what Shane just said a couple of minutes ago, I remember, like, as a kid, like, you either, like, it was like a line in the sand.
It
you were
was.
WWE or you were WCW. I remember being, like, 8 years old. My friends were WCW fans. I was a WWE guy. And when that all merged and happened in the late 90s, it was fucking incredible. It was amazing, man.
Yeah, I remember, like, what you just said. Like, I remember being on the playground. I remember certain kids had the NWO shirt and other kids had the DX shirt. And you couldn't talk to one another.
Yeah.
It's like the school. It's like the jail yard.
Yeah.
Man.
And I remember being a kid, like, because, like, my friends, I'd go over to their house, like I said, 8, 9 years old, and I'd see Sting on the TV, and I'm like, who's this fucking guy? He's awesome, And I'm like, but I'm a WWE guy, and then Ric Flair, and Arn Anderson, and it was just like, Remember they used to have the Saturday Night TV belt and all that shit on WCW that they didn't have over in WWE. It was like,
I mean, I think the coolest thing with, the NWO was, when you saw Kevin Nash and Scott Hall show up on WCW TV, it was the first time where you actually questioned reality. And Eric Bischoff did such a great job of creating reality based. Yeah, and that's where I think wrestling really, it became cool. Like, and probably developed you to want to be a wrestler.
Yeah, definitely. Tie it back into the question. I pretty much knew from that point on, playing the game, everything. I want to do this. My father strongly discouraged it, of course. Oh, you're gonna get hurt. Go to college. You don't want to do that. But it was my goal. Me and my friends, we would get together, put a mattress on the floor in the living room, and wrestle. And we would play the video game and create our move sets based on the video game, and then use them in real life.
Putting friends in crippler cross faces.
Oh yeah. We didn't know what we were doing. Thankfully,
we did that shit drunk in high school. Yeah. I remember jumping off and laying a Macho Man elbow on Joe's.
The things you do when you're kids, man. Things you do when you're kids.
Fortunately, none of us ever got hurt.
But for you, like that's awesome. That how do you even get involved? Like once you start doing the backyard stuff and like the inside like your house and doing that kind of stuff, like do you look out to like see what avenues you can take to go forward and train with? And
TNA used to run out of Universal. I'm sure you guys know that. I was going there a lot, 05, 06, 07, kind of the golden years. It was 06. There were some guys there who trained from a school over at FXE, and it was called FXE in Orlando. They still exist. Head trainer at the time was Devon Dudley and Matt Bentley, Michael Shane.
Who's better than that?
Bubba was there a little bit too, and I got a whole funny story about that.
They have their own wrestling school now.
They did,
right?
Team 3. Well, it closed.
Yeah,
it closed.
Because Bubba moved to New York, right, to be to work for Sirius, right?
Yes. I think Devon's still down here, actually.
Yeah.
I got hooked up with those guys that I met there, and I was a kid. I was only in 2006. I was only just turning 18 that year. Very green, very young, very immature. Didn't have the mindset that I have about wrestling now or the knowledge of it, to be honest. I thought I did, but I really didn't.
Did you come into it wanting to be a babyface or a heel or just be a part of the business?
Or did you just not know yet?
Yeah. So like when we would do our little like in the living room mattress stuff, I was always like traditionally the heel. And at the time, like Randy Orton was my guy. We're talking like peak evolution Orton. Like that was my guy. Like Legend Killer, RKO, matches with Undertaker, RKO and Stacy Keibler, like that was my guy, That was my guy. So like that was kind of like what I modeled myself after at the time.
Yeah.
I'm a big heel guy. And, KT's a big face guy. That's why he was a WWE guy like Hogan and everybody. And, I was the anti person.
So you guys are assholes, basically.
We're assholes, yeah. But that brings us up to, speaking of heels, you had a big match not too long ago against another friend of the show, been on the pod, Forrest Nystrom, the Entitled Millennial.
The Entitled Millennial.
The episode tonight is sponsored by Walgreens. That's for you, Forrest, by the way.
Why are you even giving that motherfucker FaceTime, man? Screw the Entitled Millennial. He doesn't belong on the podcast with Shane Evans.
He's a good one.
The champ.
I'll give him credit. That was a good one.
Yeah.
You got me.
So, now that we've gotten to know some of you guys, how is your relationship with some of these guys in PWR? That the main guys that are there, month after month. We've even started to call them PLEs.
Yeah,
because they are.
Yeah,
premium live events.
Yeah, we can go with that.
So as far as like guys like Forrest, like tell us some of your longest relationships, guys that are in PWR that you're still working with, that you have that bond with, that obviously me and KT will never understand being in the ring with somebody and sweating and
even past guys that maybe you even like just really loved working with or that really like influenced you.
It's not a 7-part question.
Yeah. No, we can pivot this and weave it whatever way you want. Let's talk about Forrest. So me and him met in like 05. We went to DeLand High School right here.
Dogs, baby.
That's it. Go Dogs. And we started doing that. We started doing the wrestling at our house thing. And Forrest was never like into being a wrestler. He wanted to take like the dumb stuff. He wanted to do the hardcore stuff. Like, and he took some really stupid stuff that I can tell you about. Like, he got chopped in the chest with a spatula. He let me power slam him into a bush of thorns.
He seems like an idiot.
Yeah,
He seems like those hardcore.
he actually has a scar on one of his tattoos where he took a glass bump, where it actually deformed the tattoo a little bit. But I actually got to give him credit. Like he's been a great friend to me, a great friend and somebody that I can always call and rely on. But he's actually having, I would say, like his breakout year. 20 years in, but his breakout year, like he's killing it right now. Like whether or not that we have the same antics, in our wrestling roles, I love what he's doing, and it makes me happy to see.
You took him to Lariat Country.
I did take him to Lariat Country, and I
felt,
always will.
Yeah, the one thing that we liked when Forrest had a lot of positive things. If you haven't listened to the episode with Forrest, I mean
I've listened to it.
Yeah, he'll explain to you. He's episode 23, the Jordan cast. He went all over it. But if you look
he's
at
so
Forrest,
fucking entitled, man.
Yeah,
He's so entitled.
But if you look at Forrest, like he's almost going through a little face turn at the moment.
He is.
Fans are kind of.
I was rooting for him at the last event.
It's almost kind of like Dom right now. Like they're kind of liking him a little bit. Like, and I think in today's world, like good guys are boring, and like unless you're like the best good guys are like flawed good guys. Like Stone Cold was a flawed good guy.
Exactly.
Like Punk was a flawed good guy.
They're guys you want to root for because you like the way they handle their business.
Right.
It doesn't need to be like Hogan, say your prayers and do all this, and John Cena, hence where he is at now. But now he's just such an asshole. I fucking can't stand to watch him on TV.
But yeah, I mean, Shane, how much do you think, like you've been in this business a long time, how much do you think social media has impacted the world of professional wrestling? For instance, like I talked about this in our WrestleMania preview and post show. Like we look at social media as almost being like the fans aren't necessarily cheering they're cheering a situation, not necessarily like when Dirty Dom wins the IC belt, like his hard work and
they don't
his
give a
heel
shit
work
about the
was
story.
paid off. When John Cena turned heel, it was because the people wanted something different.
So now they're cheering.
And they're cheering. Like when he did his low blow to Cody and then beat the hell out of him, the crowd, people want to say they were shocked. They were cheering. And it was because they wanted to see something different. And how have you noticed in your career, like the evolution of social media, not only from a promotional standpoint, because I think it's helped you guys, it's basically free promotion, you don't have to pay for it, but also how has that changed with storytelling and quote unquote, keeping things,
or how you have to even be in your personal life.
Yeah.
Because shit, you get caught on camera from someone else. Like, if I'm not being...
I mean, there's stories of The Undertaker back in the day saying that he lived his character 24/7 because he never wanted to leave it.
You couldn't break kayfabe.
So, as somebody in your position, being a champion of a company, how does social media really affect you in the promotion of wrestling and just you in your everyday life being in wrestling?
I have
that's another 7-part question.
No, yeah. I was just very I'm going to try to articulate it as best as I can.
We get in depth on this podcast.
Yes, no, I'm about it. That's a great question. So this might sound extreme. So when it comes to the wrestling business as a whole, I think social media actually saved it.
Yep.
Yeah.
It kind of harmed it because you got all this toxicity between fans and stuff like that now. But like
everything with social media is that way.
It is. But like, I think. And maybe this is like an extreme viewpoint, but I might even go as far as to say like wrestling doesn't become mainstream without social media. Like it doesn't stay mainstream without social media. Because it was already kind of starting to fall off before social media really took off. Like it was definitely declining, and now it's at a boom.
Well, even think about during the COVID years, like the fact that Roman Reigns, like basically what they had to do with social media to keep professional wrestling going.
We talked about this with Forrest, like what AEW did during COVID by having the wrestlers out by the ring.
Just to create some sense of...
I thought was genius in their part.
It was.
AEW has hit some things out of the park, and they have swung and missed a lot, too.
Who's Jaguars owner?
Leave it up to a Jaguars owner to blow it all.
Thanks, Tony. Thanks, Tony.
But like, if you think about it, like what they did, they adapted, and I still feel bad that Drew McIntyre's title win was in front of nobody when he beat Brock. But it was like the COVID aspect. You know, I know we're all over the place right now.
Oh, we're good.
This is how it goes.
But
Social
like,
media.
This is it. So social media and COVID, like, what do you think? Like you said, social media saved wrestling, and I think it was so important during the COVID year or whatever it was, because we
Years
were
for
all
some people.
glued to our phones, glued to our computers.
Yeah. Yeah, it kept it alive, kept it on life support. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, like, I'll give you an example. Like, I was a big Walking Dead fan at the time, and they had to literally stop filming in the middle of the season that year, and it was like a 8-month delay till the season finale came. Wrestling was the only, like, one of the only active
Live
forms.
events every week that you could tune into.
Yes. Yeah.
And a couple nights a week because you had AEW doing, you had WWE doing.
What was it called? The Thunderdome or whatever it was?
Yeah, the Thunderdome. We had the what did they call the Performance Center?
Yeah, I thought it was the Thunder. Maybe it wasn't the Thunderdome.
Well, the Thunderdome was at St. Pete.
Oh yeah,
at Tropicana Field. But they were in the Performance Center before
and
that.
they had all the screens.
The Thunderdome was a cool concept.
But if you got to think, like, that was navigating waters that
nobody's ever done.
And to think that the WWE took their means and was like, we're going to put screens all over. I mean, that is pretty cool. I mean,
It
if you
is.
think about it. I mean,
It was awesome.
Just
They had
to-
people like engaged from their home, which most of us want to be home. Like half of us don't even love going to fucking live events anymore. We got rid of our Jaguar tickets because we fucking don't want to go there anymore.
It's,
We'd rather sit at
it's
home.
so tiring. So
and
tiring.
who wants to go watch a 4 and fucking 13 team play?
They're not always 4 and 13, but I think definitely during COVID. But yeah, going back to like self promotion and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, it's everything. Now you got guys on there that are marks for themselves, and then there's a lot of cringe that gets put on there, and then of course fans see it, and it's a
And
deterrent.
negative bullshit too.
Negative
right?
bullshit. Yeah, there's a lot. It's a double-edged sword, like anything in life.
Right.
But I think if used properly, that it's mostly a positive.
If you take it for the what it can be in your life, then it's gonna be.
It's gonna be great. Yeah.
Like look at like even like we're talking about social media. Look at like Logan Paul, fucking jacked Uso. That was a social media feed.
That was
thing.
after the show.
That was
yeah.
after the show. He hides in disguise, and then
now they're gonna fight.
and now they're fighting on Saturday Night Main Event next Saturday night. And it's like this is what social media can do. This is the positive things of being able to have cameras whenever you want them.
So that's kind of like going back to us and what we do.
Yeah, talk about independent wrestling and how it helps
Yeah.
you guys.
So like, yeah. Well, obviously to promote yourself, you let your fans know they follow you, tell them where you're working. You can put promos on it. Something we do, and I don't know like how much you guys follow like the promos we release online. But
all of them.
sometimes we'll like repeat some of those things we said in those promos at the live show because not everybody at the live show has seen that promo.
Right.
So we want to at least kind of try to fill them in on the story.
You're trying to get your gimmick.
Yeah, because they some people have never seen any of it, so they don't know. So you got to kind of fill them in.
We got to get the Megatron out.
Yeah, that would be cool. That would be cool. Do you guys remember when there used to be a chicken joint here in Deland called Hamptons?
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
They used to put a big like inflatable looking bounce house thing up, and people would watch the UFC fights off a projector screen on the side of it.
We went to high school with
Yeah, we played.
Yeah.
We played U Sports with the son of Hamptons.
The Hamptons.
Yeah.
So like, so to go the other way on social media, before social media existed, you've been in the business 20 years.
I had like a 7-year hiatus,
Yeah.
but like roughly like
But-
2006.
Okay,
yes.
so back in 2006, before, that might have been MySpace.
MySpace,
years, I don't
yeah.
know. So
Facebook did technically exist, I think.
Yeah, not in the capacity. it
Like
is
08,
now.
09 is when it started to take off.
So as a wrestler, independent wrestler, what are the avenues that had to be taken back then to get yourself out there? Like,
I mean, it was really just all street team, passing out flyers, talking to people, and just
Old school.
Old school.
It's like bands playing.
Yeah.
Like when I had a band back in that same time frame. You're flying. You're
Yep.
you're trying to get whatever.
Trying to call radios to get an ad or whatever you can get and wherever you can get it. That was really how it was done back then. I remember we ran our own show. Are you guys familiar with M-Dog, Matt Cross?
Mm-hmm.
He was actually on Tough Enough when they did it that one year, but we booked him on a show in like 2007. And we made flyers for it. It was in Castleberry. We passed them out at TNA at Universal at the time. And in the day of the show, we realized that we put the wrong address on the flyer.
Oh,
We still had a good crowd because a bunch of the people from there
Yeah.
came in. But yeah, there was 2 venues we were looking at, and he ended up putting the other one instead of the one we ended up going with.
Oh.
Yeah, so.
That's the thing.
And
that-
then
The pitfalls of independent wrestling.
I've wondered to this day, like, I wonder how many people showed up to the other venue and was like, what's...
There's nothing happening.
But I'll never know that answer, so, yeah. But yeah,
Well,
that's kind of my answer to that.
Yeah, that's funny. I mean, but those are the things that could happen when you don't have a computer, you don't have AI correcting you, you don't have all these things that auto correct you. How hard is it to send a text now that fucking you want to say something and AI?
Well,
Series.
people want life to be so perfect now. It's like you don't learn anything unless you fucking go through the hardships. Like that. That was probably a huge learning experience for you. Like
Oh yeah.
or your group at the time. You know?
Definitely, yeah, for sure. And going back to what you just said, it kind of like reminds me of like a Chris Jericho thing he said, and I don't necessarily agree with this, but I see the point he was trying to make. That clip where he said like there's no such thing as a botch in wrestling. It's like live sports. If a quarterback throws an interception, is that a botch? No, it happens. Mistakes happen.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys heard that clip or not.
Right. It's just like with music, or like the best music from like the 60s and 70s and the 80s. Like there was like errors that happened. Like a guy hits something wrong, they couldn't autocorrect it and make it fucking perfect. But those things live on in your memory. It's like that one sound is like changes everything that you do. One different bump or one different flight off the ropes or one suplex can change a whole match and make it fucking amazing. You know?
And then also, unfortunately, on the other side of that, you got guys like Hayabusa who break their neck because they didn't quite make it all the way over, and it's like
Yeah.
It's inches. I mean, it's game. It's,
You get a claw.
Goldberg and Undertaker, like that could have been way worse than what it was. And
Yeah.
But we've seen the best go through the neck injuries. Edge, Stone Cold,
Angle,
Yeah. I mean,
Benoit,
Yeah.
pretty much everybody.
Yeah.
Nobody really in recent years, I don't think.
They're so.
So how does that feel for you? Like you said, you took a 7-year hiatus, and then like now you have a family, you have kids, you have a wife, you have everything. It's like, man, it does take a lot of fucking
I don't think you're
cojones.
volunteering for a chair shot anytime.
It does take a lot of cojones to get back in the ring and say, I want to do this again.
The first bump I took after 7 years hurts so bad.
You're like, what the
So
fuck
bad.
am I doing?
And I hit the ropes. I only hit the ropes like twice. Like boom, boom, done. I had bruises across my back the next day.
But it
Because
made
my body just wasn't used to it.
made you feel alive, though, didn't it?
Oh yeah.
I've heard that like when you're training for wrestling, the hitting the ropes could be the most painful thing for someone that hasn't done it.
The ropes hurt.
Bruises.
Ropes hurt if you're not used to
That's
it.
the one. Like I don't think people understand that are unfamiliar with wrestling and what goes into it. I don't think people understand like.
Yeah, when people say this shit's fake, fuck off.
They think there's a
It's
spring
not
under
fake.
there and all that. And actually, rings with springs are even stiffer.
Yeah.
But
These boys are hitting plywood. These gals are hitting plywood.
yeah, we're
Just
talking.
bouncing off of it.
We're talking about 2x12 sitting on a metal frame with padding maybe that thin sitting on top of it.
Nothing. I mean, anybody that wants to say that professional wrestling is fake is full of shit. Because it is not fake in any way whatsoever. We don't like to use that for the
No,
word
the
here.
the
F
athletic.
word is not used here.
No, yeah, I mean it's it's talked about, but it's definitely not fake. There's nothing fake about it.
Yeah, I mean it's we don't even.
I don't know if I'm gonna go as far as to say what Hulk Hogan said in that random interview he did, where he said everybody says the wrestling business is a work, but it's a shoot, brother. I mean, I don't know if I'm gonna go that far, but yeah,
well, Hogan's
definitely.
been kind of off his rocker lately.
Yeah, he might have dementia. I don't know, but
But
I
He's
get,
taking
but also I
one
get
too many bumps.
not to go too far in depth on that, but I think what he was trying to get at was like the politics behind it, or
Right.
shoot. So I get what he was saying, but
I
yeah,
couldn't even imagine the politics behind it, and,
especially
and
back then.
Yeah, when there was no social media and you had to fight for yourself and make relationships, and can you imagine like what Triple H was facing internally when he was in love with the boss's daughter? Like that could have ruined everything for him, but it was just like,
I just watched like a whole thing. I watched an interview.
his
He was-
Hall of Fame speech.
he
is
was
phenomenal,
on,
by the way.
I need to
don't know
watch
if you
it.
see
No, I
Yeah.
haven't seen it yet.
He was on Andrew
Andrew
Schultz's
Flagrant,
podcast. Yeah, Flagrant. And he was talking about that. And he was like, we actually got told we can't see each other. Like him and Steph. Like Vince was like, nope. this ain't gonna work. It's gonna be a bad idea. And it was because he tore his quad off. Remember when he tore his quad?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That he was rehabbing
Judgment Day.
down in like St. Louis or something like that. He was like, I was there for 9 months, just every day going to rehab. And Stephanie reached out, and at that point, because he wasn't a part of the storyline, they didn't know if he could come back. Stephanie actually came down, and it was like,
Yeah.
it fucking was able to flourish. It's awesome, you know.
So Shane, talk about like in your personal career, like is there an opponent that stands out that either mentored you or they're a match that things started to click for you? Where
This
you
is
were,
probably the last question.
yeah, like that you were just like, man, I can see so much more now. I understand it more. Is there one guy that you can look back and say, this guy really helped me? It's a dream match that I still want to have. One person that stands out that has really affected your career.
I mean, I would have to go with, it was recent, but against Ramos for sure.
We were there. It was great. It was a good match.
Working with a guy on that level and who's big, because the only way you can get better is to work with people who are better. Like, I don't want to work. Like, it's nice to work with guys that you can lead, but it's also nice to be led. I want to be coached. I want to be taught. I want to get better. And the only way you can do that is to humble yourself and work with somebody like that. And I would love to work him again in an indoor environment where it's not so cold and where we can really lay into each other, because he has
Those
that
chops were nasty, man.
I loved it. And he has that style that I enjoy, like just that simple, hard hitting, almost like a Fit Finley smash mouth style. Like, I love that.
Is that the style you like? Like
definitely.
just
Like
brute
Samoa
force,
Joe's my guy. Like always has been.
So that's the style. Yeah,
That's
and
why
I can tell that about
that's
you.
why. Yeah, that's why I wear the split tone, all that.
Yeah.
And I'm a Joe Mark, self-admittedly, but yeah.
There's no,
He's a good- he's a
there's
good one
no
to be a
wrong
mark
with being
for.
a Joe Mark. But no, I was just wondering if there was that one. But I mean, we were there that night you fought Ramos, and that was cold. When that sun went down, you guys were fighting all over OBs. Getting back into the PWR world, and where you later became defeating Tiberius, and you've had some challengers. Klebold in the last match. What is there? How do you fight off these challengers? And can we expect any new challengers coming for that strat?
So as of right now, I don't have an opponent for June. I've been doing open challenges every show since I won, and I'll continue to do so because I believe that's what a fighting champion should do. But I want to go back to February when Alejandro Bravo stuck his nose in my business and got in my match. And he super kicked me. And then we had a match over at Riot in Daytona, and he super kicked me again. And then he got fired. So currently he's not employed with us, but I made a statement back in March that I was going to take out anybody who has tried to rob these fans of a quality main event. Kevin Klebold, he got taken out last month in April. And now, Bravo, it's your turn. And I know you're fired. So, Diva D, you need to do what you got to do. Get him back in here. Give me the match. He's going on this kick your fucking head off tour. Well, when you get in the ring with me, Bravo, it's going to be lariat your fucking head off. And it's as simple as that.
Fuck yeah,
I
Diva
love
D.
I love it.
Sign that match. Bravo. Are you sure you want some of this,
He
dude?
don't want none of this.
Alejandro Bravo, that when he got fired that night, there was a lot of things happening. He interfered with a lot of stuff, and you could tell he was
He was a
pretty
fucking
perturbed.
wild card that night.
He was. KT's been a big fan of Bravo. We love Bravo, but boy, I would sign up front row seats for Shane the Element Evans versus Alejandro Bravo. Sign me up. Diva D, make that happen.
Yeah, you're going to have
Make
to.
it
That's what I was going to say. You're going to have to convince her of that one because
he's fired.
I've
he
reached out-
disrespected her.
I've reached out to her and she's pretty firm against it, but I'm pretty firm for it happening.
Diva D, we are asking you for this match because I think it's going to be fucking
Butts in
classic.
seats. Butts in seats. That'll be. I'm all for it. I don't think Alejandro Bravo could handle Lariat Country.
I don't think he can. I mean, look, super kick. I mean, you're getting kicked in the jaw by a guy. Like, I mean, that's you get hit with that. That's that you're done. Like that's
It's played
it.
out. We're not Shawn Michaels here.
I mean, it's played out from a fan's perspective of visualizing, but I'm saying as a wrestler, you get kicked in the jaw, that's it. You're done. Like you're knocked out. You know, that head pivots a certain way, like a boxer getting punched, you're done.
There's no hiding from a lariat.
There's no well, you know, there's ways around it. There's guys who have reversed
But not
it.
from your lariat.
Not from my lariat, no. And I also want to throw out there, nobody's kicked out of it yet.
Ooh.
So
Ooh, I know Forrest didn't kick out of it. That's for damn
nobody's
sure.
kicked out of it yet. And Bravo's not going to be the first, so...
The entitled millennial got entirely laid out.
And I'll do it again anytime.
Boy, I hope that we get a chance to see that. At the next show, Ascension. Let's talk about that, Shane. We got a little Royal Rumble type match for the high voltage championship.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of people signed up for that. I'm sure there's a lot more surprises coming on people. Do we know how many people are going to be in that match? Is it going to be a Royal Rumble style? Is it going to be a Battle Royal style?
Yeah, what's the high voltage?
Yeah.
The high voltage is the name.
Explain to the fans.
Yeah, absolutely. So the high voltage is the name of that championship that it's going to be for.
Kind of like your
there's
mid-card championship.
I don't. Yeah, you could say. I don't want to call it secondary because I don't want any champion to feel like they're second to somebody.
But you're saying who the hell happens, man.
Every guy deserves a chance to shine and showcase what they can do. We have a lot of good guys back there that deserve to be able to come out with some gold, and that's going to be a great match. I know you didn't ask this question, but I'm going to go ahead and throw it out there. If I had to pick an early favorite. And this is a guy who hasn't actually even debuted in PWR yet. But you guys are going to love him.
We're getting inside scoop right here.
You're going to love him. His name is Kwame. And
okay.
This guy is a beast. He's athletic. I mean, I don't want to admit this on camera. I'm scared of him coming for me. Ooh. I mean, this is a serious dude right here, and I think he's the clear-cut winner.
How do we know how many guys are in the match, or is that kind of undisclosed at this point?
I want to say it's going to be.
And is it going to be like a Royal Rumble?
It is going to be a Royal Rumble style. It'll be over the top rope elimination. Guys will come in every so many minutes.
And the last man standing is the high voltage champion.
Last man standing is the high voltage champion. Number wise, I think they haven't determined that yet. Mm-hmm. I think right now they're locked in around 12 to 15.
That's cool.
So
they still gotta get guys to fill in.
That's what. I think they have the majority, and there might even be a lady or two in the match.
Okay. And the ladies.
That first ladies match last.
I was gonna say, were y'all there for that?
We were.
Okay.
I mean, we had heard about the ladies from Riot and everything, and if our post show episode, we actually gave the ladies match the match of the night.
Yeah.
It was because I thought they stole the show.
Yeah, BB and JC are great.
They were awesome.
Amazing.
Harper loved it. Jay's daughter loved that match.
I mean, I'm a house full of women, and they love that. And I thought it was nice that PWR started to expand into that. And I love that we're doing a high voltage champion because me and KT have talked about back in the day,
I like
that
that
Intercontinental Championship was a stepping stone of stepping up to the World Championship. And back in the day when you had that mid level of even China, Jeff Jarrett, Gold Dust.
Shit, even remember Mr. Perfect used to live in that Intercontinental.
So definitely. So the high voltage name. So the whole idea of PWR was actually thought of in 2011 by Carnage. The original name was Pro Wrestling Reinvented. Now it's Pro Wrestling Rebellion, which I think is better. Reinvent, that's kind of cheesy sounding. That's neither here nor there. But the whole acronym of PWR is PWR, so power if you're looking at it. So that's where the high voltage comes from.
Absolutely.
Nice.
I like it. I like what you guys have done with your marketing aspect. I know that you guys got some very talented people doing things from the photography end of things, from the social media aspect. I think you guys are doing everything the right way to gain the fans, and that's what it takes. And to piggyback off of what we've already spoken about.
It's very hard to build a following.
Very hard,
especially locally, and getting people to actually show up and attend.
So going back. My bad. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No. Going back to earlier in our conversation, I was going to touch base on this till we scattered off in the 20 different directions we did. It's
That's
great.
what we do here.
No,
at Rude
it's
Opinions.
great. It's great.
That's why it's called Rude Opinions.
I make this joke with like all my friends. Like I have a few friends I'm really close with. We'll have 5 main conversations with 20 sub conversations all at once. So I get it. But going back to what I was saying, and now I've lost my train of thought and forgot what I was going to say.
That's
No
all right.
worries.
That's all right, man.
I'll ask you something real quick. So
It'll come back.
we're talking about this, and this might even lead you into it. But can you talk about your relationship with the, I don't know if he's the owner or the president, but Brady Gibson, like what he's been doing for the PWR promotion, and like what your relationship is with him?
So Brady, from what I've been told, I mean, he's our photographer. He's, I think he might be working to do a match or two, something like that. But our relationship's good. I try to have a good working relationship with everybody. Even the asshole heels in the back that I don't like, but you got to come together and work with them. And that's just, how it is. So me and Brady have a great relationship.
Awesome.
Good. And how about Diva D? What is she? We've seen her have her issues with Alejandro Bravo, obviously firing him. Hopefully she has a soft spot and brings him back for a matchup that we would love to see. How is it with her running the show?
I'm concentrating right now because this is going to be a multifaceted answer. So it's been an evolution with her, and Diva D today is not the same Diva D that she was when we started this back in September.
Like, I'm sure none of you are. I mean,
none of us are.
Yeah.
And this is no disrespect to her, because I appreciate her contributions to the company, but I think her head's gotten a little too big for itself.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
And she's all about herself and her money and her company. And hey, more power to her. I mean, she's worked hard to achieve that status, and she's a boss.
She's handing out those diva dollars.
She does, and I have a great working.
She shits on us minions in the crowd every time we're there.
She shits all over Deland.
That's
all
what
the
I was
time,
gonna say. So
know?
I have a great working relationship with her. I don't respect the way she handles the fans.
Oh man,
at all.
I'm glad to hear that, Shane.
So
yeah,
the people,
I mean,
the people's champ right here.
Shits all over. She sits all over Deland. This is Mr. Deland.
Oh, she treats us like we're shit.
She does. And then there was that time she even kind of publicly humiliated Dick Mondale in front of everybody.
Oh man!
Oh, the Valentine's thing.
Yeah.
He got the pink
she
shirt
embarrassed him.
out
I felt
everything.
bad.
He looked
for
good
him.
though. He had
He
the
did.
drip. He had
He
the
did.
drip.
He
Oh,
did.
for sure.
He did. We actually gave him a lot of props on this. He hooked us up with some PWR shirts, and it was all good. But no, I mean, you guys are doing some awesome stuff out there at PWR. We're going to be June 28th?
Yes, sir.
June 28th, OB's.
Ascension, right?
Ascension.
Do we have card announcements yet, other than the high voltage Rumble match?
There's the high voltage Rumble.
Are you still working on the rest of the card?
Please tell me the Millennial's not on it.
I would imagine he would be. I mean, he is entitled, right?
Yeah, he's entitled to be on the card.
He's entitled to be on the card. But no, I know we got the Rumble. I know that I'm pretty sure that the tag titles will be defended, first defense.
Awesome.
And then my open challenge. Beyond that, I don't know of any other matches yet.
Talk about those guys, like the unnatural
causes. I mean, we've been fans of them.
I'm a huge fan of them, even though I fucking boo them all the time when I'm there. But I think their work's great. I think their gimmicks awesome.
It's Jeff Yeager and Clayton Cross.
Yep.
And they, I mean,
they're
the
Tampa,
alien
right?
gimmick or whatever. But like when they were in that match, I even said to KT, I was like, if you're not putting the belt on these guys, what are we doing here? They've been every show, tag matches. The Big Deal has been a part of it. The House of Spades. We haven't seen.
Their whole thing, they make you want to fucking hate them, man. I can't stand them.
It's great.
Unnatural
causes. There's a gift to being a heel. I watched an interview with Triple H a long time ago. He says it's easy to make people cheer, but it's harder to make people boo. And when you do that, like I'm a heel guy, so I like it. I do like you.
You can make people cheer because it's easy to make them cheer, but it's hard to sustain it. You can hate someone for a long time as a natural, like as a person.
As someone in the biz, it's the opposite for me. To me, it's easy to be bad.
If you have that in you.
If you have that in you, yeah. But from a like logistical standpoint, when you are the one who's bad, you're the one leading the match. So there's a lot more responsibility there because you're calling the shots really. You're beating down this guy and you're the one kind of leading that charge. So it can be hard from that point of view. But as far as getting the crowd to actually hate you, I mean.
But don't you think too, Shane, that you just being you allows your character to really flourish?
Oh yeah.
So there's times where you want to be face. There's times you want to be a heel. There's times that, hey, this guy fucked me. I'm gonna go mess him up, and I don't care if the fans like it or not. Like that's the beauty of professional wrestling, man. It's like you get to choose as a fan what you love, and you have the opportunity to feed off that. Like, I want the heat. I want the fucking love. I want whatever.
You had a moment at the last show, and I pointed it out in our post show where it was an intermission, and then we knew that you and Klebold were the main event, and you guys came out right after the intermission, and I was like, well, what are they doing here? Because people don't realize when you go to a live independent show, they're telling the story right there in front of you.
This isn't Monday Night fucking Raw.
They don't have announcers. They don't have anything like
Jumbotrons.
So when you guys came out, that moment when you got in Klebold's face, I was like, that's why he is the champion. Because he is telling a story to the crowd right there in that moment of your history with Klebold. You know, you called him the wrong name, but you did it to piss him off.
Right.
And that was maybe fans like me and KT picked that up, where it's so important when you go to an independent wrestling show that those stories are told right there in the ring, and we don't have a Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler to tell us the story. We have to see it happen.
The minor details are everything,
and
man.
You had a moment there, and I saw you on the mic, and I was like, that's why he's the champion.
Yeah.
And
that
was a great moment, and I don't know if you intended it to be or things like that happen organically, and afterwards you're like, damn, we did it better than we thought.
We just talked about that earlier.
Well, I appreciate it because I actually felt like that was one of my weaker promos. I really
seen a couple of them.
Hey, it gets over either way,
man.
Yeah,
promos I've always enjoyed promos. I really like the one I did with Tiberius, the contract signing.
Yes, that was also a very good one. Good, yeah.
You mean Cryberius?
Yeah, Cryberius. He slapped me a couple times. But
that was actually, you're right. That was also another very good one.
Yeah, I enjoyed that a lot. What was the original question again? Because I know
it was just talking about.
We're just always excited to see Shane, the Element Evans, in the ring.
We were talking about you were talking about the production aspect of it and not having to be filled in. And things like that.
Being able to tell a story live in the ring. Like that night, you guys came out after and we knew you were the main event. We're like, well, what are they going to do here? Because me and KT, we probably look deeper into things than most fans.
We pay attention to everything. So, we kind of. When Kyle Cage,
Kyle Steele,
and Ironside
all night was just
and we're like
roaming around the ring like an asshole.
And then he obviously he had something that he was going to do later on that night. But my original question was, I know this is part 9 of the question, but how hard is it when you're putting on an independent show to tell that story that you guys feel so passionately about inside? How do you get that message to the fans without commentators, without a Titantron, without things
backstory
like
and everything else?
It's so important when you get those 5 minutes on the mic to tell that story.
I mean, you go out there and you do your thing, like you just like I was saying before we started this. Sometimes I'll repeat things at a live event that I already said on an internet promo, so that I can fill in the fans there what's going on.
Keep the message.
So will you say that I don't want to say that every guy is like that, but you sound like you are very purposeful in those type of situations where you're cutting an online promo, but then you're kind of calling back to it in the ring.
Yeah, definitely. And they do that. I feel like they do that in wrestling anyways.
Right.
It's building your brand.
It's
building the. Hey, I want the fans to chant this. I want the fans to know my catch lines. All that is important.
It's not easy to make the whole fans want to go
it's
hilarious.
not. And half the time the fans are so stupid, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but they don't even know what they're supposed to be rooting for, cheering for, and that's the beauty of professional wrestling.
Funny you say that. That was going to be what I followed up with, going back to your question. So, something I really like to do is I look for whatever fan in that crowd is the most invested. And you know how you hear wrestlers sell to the hard can.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's who I'm selling to, because whoever's sitting around them is now going to be drawn into what they're into. Because if they see how emotionally invested they are, they're going to like, well, man, I should care about this too.
Yeah.
And it kind of just elevates the whole crowd.
That's gotta be very tough too. Like sometimes you probably could go out there and have a dead crowd.
You can.
And that's like, man,
But your job is to reach one.
Your job is to reach one.
And you know what? I bet
KT, that was pretty good.
I bet that
It was.
I bet that makes you more comfortable when you find the one who's locked in with you. That because I think you and I even had it at one point at one of the events where I'm like, fucking Shane Evans is the dude. Like, you know, like, and I think you even spoke back to us. I'm sure Harper was even.
It's funny because
Harper loves you.
When I'm in there in a moment, I know like who I'm looking at, but I don't actually know what they look like. I have like tunnel vision, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well,
you probably just see everybody as one.
Go
Yes.
back to even like 2 months ago when Cena called the kid in Switzerland or Brussels, the fat kid, and the whatever, and it's
Talk
like
about easy heat.
Yeah.
The fact that he did that was like that kid for life's forever changed. You know, it's like it's amazing. It's like the time I talk about this all the time, but I was at a house show for WWE in Bangor, and who's the big giant moose? Not moose. The other guy in WWE.
Omos.
Omos, yeah.
He was beating the shit out of some like fake contender that was coming out to try to challenge him, and he was like
We
a
don't want
small
to use
guy.
the word jobber.
Yeah, he was
Talent enhancement.
There we go.
He reached out to a kid in the front row for strength. And dude, I was like almost in tears. Like that kid's life is changed forever because the guy went back in. He ended up losing the match, but he had like a 2-minute sequence where he just dominated the big giant, you know. And it was like because of that kid.
Because of the
it's
kid.
fucking unbelievable. Like what you're saying, man.
Yeah, definitely. And kids are great. But like I said, I look for whoever the loudest one is, and that's who I dial in on.
The last show, I think it was there was a woman in the front row, Rose's wife, possibly.
Yeah,
she was great.
She was so vocal, and I think she helped the show. I mean, she was helped,
awesome.
like kind of people, because I know Rose and Ironside have kind of a history of training together back in the day or whatever. So like she kind of helped, but she was like,
and he was from a separate thing or.
Rose?
Yeah.
That was the first time he worked. Rose was good. I really liked him.
Yeah.
I liked his look, liked his everything he had going on. But yeah, definitely. I think the last 2 shows we did have a smaller crowd, but they were still pretty like into it for what it was, you know.
Oh, it was awesome. There's that one kid every time who's always talking shit and telling everyone to suck it. It's hilarious. I don't know.
Yeah, he's great. He's great. There's another kid that
He
always
hates
comes.
the unnatural causes. Like he's
Just like you.
Yeah. I know. That's why I love that kid.
Oh, you don't like the unnatural causes?
No,
I love them as wrestlers, but I play into the.
he's not a big fan of the alien gimmicks. So
Gotcha.
No, I think it's actually kind of cool. I actually
It's
think
different.
I think it's fun.
We actually really like those guys. Like,
I think they're awesome
Yeah.
So
as wrestlers.
I actually met both of them in 07. I met Jeff's actually from Connecticut originally, and I met him up near Philly at a show we did up there together. And then he moved here in 08, and he's been with us ever since. And then Clayton I met in 07 down here, but he was, that was like his break-in year.
Well, we were talking kind of off air earlier about how, when you're dealing with independent wrestling, you're kind of dealing with a lot of people like veterans, new guys, kind of everybody. And you can tell when guys like Alejandro Bravo gets in the ring, Unnatural Causes get in the ring, like you can tell the difference of the impact. Like when you fought Ramos, like you could
How
tell
they hit
those
the
chops were different. They were different from a fan's point of view. Like
how you hit the ropes, how you maneuver in the ring,
how you carry yourself,
how you even get in the ring and out of the ring.
I'll bring up like that John Cena where he buried Austin Theory promo. A lot of his like guys that just don't believe in themselves, and like everybody has doubt at times. Like you question, like, oh, is this really a good idea? Like, should I do? But like if you are bought into what you're doing, or let me rephrase that: if you're not bought into what you're doing, everybody picks up on that.
Yeah,
and that's that's kind of what.
It's a great. Like I don't know if you've heard the interview with Dustin Rhodes when Vince brought him the Gold Dust character.
No,
And
I
he
don't think
was
I've heard
like,
that interview.
It's in Gold and Dustin Rhodes questions like, what am I going to play a transvestite,
A
painted
weirdo.
face
A
weirdo?
weirdo.
But he took that, and we all know that Dustin Rhodes can bring it in the ring.
Oh yeah.
It's one of the greatest characters of all
But
time.
he ends up making that one of the greatest characters in WWE history because he just fully, and he hated it.
I
He
love
hated
the Booker T segments in 02.
Oh
The
man!
7-Eleven one, that's like, and the Crocodile Hunter one, those are like my go-tos.
But it's just like what Dustin Rhodes did with that character is a perfect example of what you're saying. If you buy into it, even if it's bullshit, because how much bullshit has Vince McMahon given?
Well, look at Jericho.
Look at his brother.
Jericho in the list. That was bullshit, and Jericho made it work.
Yeah, and then they blew it for Goldberg. They blew it. The Kevin Owens,
Fucking Goldberg.
the Kevin Owens, Chris Jericho Festival of
It'll
Friendship.
be another Cena match.
Yeah,
Goldberg.
When, I don't know if you've listened. I don't know if you've listened to the Jericho
They've never done
interview
that, have
on
they?
this.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Which Jericho interview?
The Jericho interview when he talks about why he eventually left WWE to go AEW or to go to New Japan first or whatever. But when he goes, my best work was the list of Jericho with Kevin Owens.
Yeah.
And the Festival of Friendship was probably one of the greatest segments on Raw that we've ever had. And he got bumped from the main event of WrestleMania for a fucking Goldberg reunion match. And he was like, I'm done. I just did my best work, and you're going to put me
The
on
list of
fucking
Jericho
first
was some
on
of the best
WrestleMania.
work.
It
The
was.
list of Jericho was so good, and Kevin Owens is so good. And he was just like, I'm done with this company. And I don't know if you get a chance, look up that interview because he put his heart and soul into the list of Jericho, and it was probably better than they ever expected it to be. WWE.
And at that time, Jericho was part time because he's got Fozzy and he's got everything that he's going on, and he's
now
there.
Jericho's just ready. Just come back, do your swan song with WWE, and go to the Hall of Fame.
He will.
He will. He will.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. He's locked into a pretty long deal right now, I think.
Yeah, I think what he's doing with the Jericho Cruise is really cool.
Yeah.
I think that whole thing is
Do you
awesome.
remember the first time you saw the Y2J
Oh, yeah.
countdown?
99, baby.
On Raw.
You're like, what the fuck is this countdown? You're like, what is going on?
I
That's
remember-
that's right in your heyday, right?
I remember Jericho in WCW when he had
Lion Tamer.
when he had that I forget what era it was, but he was doing a singles run, and what was that? He had a guy named Rufus or Ralphus managing him or something.
Yeah.
That sloppy looking. He was wrestling Gilbert, trying to have a match with Goldberg. I really like that version of Jericho.
It's funny, we're talking about independent wrestling, and we're talking about everything that goes on with wrestling and how these promotions can actually move forward in the light. And it's at that time, to hear how bad WCW was being run, that Stone Cold left. I mean, he was
The Radicals left.
the Radicals.
Well, they had
left.
Stone Cold, they had Undertaker, they had Triple H at one point.
H was there. Jericho.
Terrorizing?
Terrorizing.
But you know what I mean? They said it was
They got
so
Brett,
bad over there because they just didn't give a shit. Ted Turner had so much money, it didn't matter. He could challenge Vince all he wanted to. Vince at that point in time was still trying to keep up. He was there, but
They were getting
The
their
money-
ass whooped.
You want to
Yeah.
know what the turning point was? There's
Mankind winning the belt.
yes, but for me, I think the real genius move they made was when they brought Tyson in.
Yeah. It was social media before social media.
Yeah.
You got all these eyes to look at your product.
you got the best.
And you put him against Austin,
Yeah.
you got the
It was
best.
great. It was
you got
brilliant.
the
It
best
was.
Good
character
call,
of
man.
all
Good call.
time, Austin, against
And you
the,
put
the Heartbreak Kid,
the
who's-
killer, Mike Tyson.
And 97, I know isn't officially the Attitude Era, but it's kind of the precursor to it. And the screw job, that kind of segued right into the Attitude Era, you know?
Because I won't lie, I actually went full WCW.
Me
during
too.
The NWO
Me
thing.
too.
I didn't give a shit about
when I was in
and
college-
I'm a giant Bret Hart fan.
Me too.
Bret Hart's one of my favorites.
Brett's
of
my
all
guy.
time.
He
Love
loves
Bret.
Bret. He
Love
loves
Bret. Love Owen too.
When I was in college, we would literally watch Monday Night Raw, tape Nitro to watch Nitro afterwards, and then we would have somebody in town bootleg the pay-per-views for us. And then Vince bought WCW, and the night one of the most influential nights in wrestling history is when Shane McMahon showed up
On Nitro.
at Pensacola.
Wasn't that in Florida?
It was
Yeah,
Pensacola. It was a
outdoor.
hotel in
Yeah.
Pensacola. What the fuck? It was like OBs in Pensacola.
Yeah.
They just showed up.
But they used to do outdoor shows a lot, like the Road Wild pay-per-view.
Shit, Jay was at the night that
I was at Bash at the Beach when
in
Hogan
Daytona.
turned.
Heel.
Yeah.
Nice.
Me
That
and
was
my-
at
me
the
and
Ocean Center?
Yeah, I was at the Ocean Center, and I was what, 96? I was a freshman in high school.
Nice.
And I remember
Macho getting his shit.
I remember everybody like, who's the third man? Who's the third man? And he comes out and everyone's like, oh shit, he's gonna save him, and he fucking drops the leg, and everybody just started throwing shit in the ring. And I'm a 15, 14-year-old kid, like, is this okay? Like, we're just
Yeah,
gonna
and
throw
Cena had
shit
a
in the
little
ring?
bitch fit the other night when someone threw a Mick Ultra.
I wish they still let him throw
Imagine
stuff.
having what Hogan had
Yeah.
thrown at him in
Dude,
that match.
I'm just so glad. Can you imagine, like, because the original person was supposed to be Sting,
Right.
and then like, because Hogan was like, I don't know if I want to ruin my character. I'm like, fuck, your character's done.
Yeah.
Like, it's time.
It had
No
been
one
done for
gives a
6
shit.
years at that point.
Yeah, I mean, they were booing him. They were like, they were Cena. They were doing the same thing that Cena was getting, and it was like when he came out, and the whole crowd was like, you could almost sense something that they could sense it, and then when he dropped the leg on Savage, it was like, dude, that moment, the whole wrestling industry changed forever.
And think about Hogan at that time. He had Thunder in Paradise. Remember the TV show on
Yeah.
TNT?
Eric Bischoff had to convince him to come to WCW
Yeah.
because he had left because of the steroid scandal, all that shit.
In 94.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember that. I remember I was a kid. I remember that press conference at MGM Studios.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and they were like,
He was like in a Corvette when he pulled up or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
Or
that's
something like that,
crazy.
I think it was.
Isn't it funny how wrestling, like, things, and I can't speak for like what my daughters will remember, but for us boys, like, the things we remember fucking Hulk Hogan pulling up at MGM Studios.
Yeah, I remember the first time I saw Ultimate Warrior.
Oh, yeah.
It was fucking amazing. And
And then
who's going to stop
Did
this
we know
guy?
he was going to become a whack job? No.
I remember so many random things. Like, so many. It's...
We were talking earlier about the Attitude Era, and, like, you know, to combine it into tag team wrestling, like, how good was the three-way feud between Edge and Christian, the Dudley Boys, and the Hardy Boys?
Oh,
Like,
tag team
the-
wrestling hasn't been the same ever since.
The latter match at Madison Square Garden, I think it was it at WrestleMania. I don't know if it was at a WrestleMania or not. I don't want to speak out.
Oh, you get your shit tore up by some...
Royal Rumble 2000, I think.
Well, when Jeff Swanton bombs off the top of the thing, and then Edge gets hit with the spear, hanging off the.
Oh, that was WrestleMania 17.
Okay.
That was the second one. I think
mean,
Yeah, there was like three of them, wasn't
tag
there was
teams-
3 TLC matches, and then there was another one they did. I think that was just a ladder match. And that was the first one they did.
I love listening to Bubba talk about how scared of heights Devon was, and he was up there and took that spear.
And
Speaking
but the
of
second
Rick
one,
Dudley.
the second one was the WrestleMania 17, and that one was cool because you had like the run-ins from Lita and Rhino and Spike.
Yeah.
So like that was
There
cool.
was so much. So, like, as an independent wrestling guy, like, do you take inspiration from what ECW was able to do? Like, as you guys think, like, I don't know what it's like to live in your world, but do you guys take that inspiration? Like, we could be like, ECW changed the world. Like, Paul Heyman's vision was like, I can't pay you, but we're going to change the world. And, like, all the things that they did that era of ECW and the guys that came through that, like we were talking about earlier, Jericho, Austin, and all these guys that put their, that went through there that you don't even realize went through, and guys like Sandman and who we just lost, Sabu. Like Sabu, probably one of the greatest crazy mans of all time.
Rest in peace.
And Sandman, who has the best entrance ever at Hammerstein
Mick
Ballroom with Enter Sandman.
One Night Stand.
The One Night Stand is probably the greatest entrance of all time in wrestling history. I will go down and say that night was awesome. When I think it was him and Dreamer versus the
Dudleys, yeah.
But it was
with the pizza cutters or the cheese
like,
graters.
As an independent wrestler, do you guys take inspiration from like those ECW days? Like, man, we can do this.
Or even like what TNA is doing, what AEW is trying to do, what New Japan does. Like, do you think you guys can build this thing to something that, I don't want to say minor leagues, but that just has a foothold in everything?
Yeah, I mean, if we could at least get it close to the level of like what GCW is, minus maybe all the deathmatch stuff, but just on that level.
Yeah, because you don't want to be that. You don't want to be a gimmick thing where like ECW was was just
Well, early ECW was not. There's actually like a match. I want to say it was like '95. It's like Benoit and Eddie and Malenko, and that's like on par with like any 5-star match from Ring of Honor. Like it's great.
Or Dave Meltzer's 9-star match.
Has he done that yet?
No,
Okay. I was about to say that's crazy. But no, I think if we could get to that level, or like even to the level of like early ROH, I think that would be, the most you could possibly ask
early
for.
like Ring of Honor was so good. Like we talked about on this pod with Tyler Black, which is Seth Rollins, CM Punk's early days, Samoa Joe being there.
They had everybody.
They had
AJ, Daniels, Loki.
Adam Cole, and Adam Cole's working in
Was
Ring
the
of Honor.
Machine Gun? Weren't they?
They were Motor City Machine
Steen,
Guns.
Generico,
Kevin
Danielson,
Steen.
Nigel McGuinness,
Kenta. Kevin Steen was now Kevin Owens. He built this whole gimmick in I'll fight anybody.
The thing that's cool,
Fight Steen, fight.
Like WWE is $1 billion company, right? Like it touches every country, every person. Like there's so many fans that you guys can relate to if you work hard and do it right?
And Vince always said they were an entertainment company, not a wrestling company. Like that's
so. This was a perfect question because it actually reminded me of what I forgot earlier.
Perfect.
Wrestling is in a weird spot right now where it's somehow like the most financially successful it's ever been, but I feel like it's the least popular it's ever been. Like in terms of like mainstream. You go out and like you remember we were Attitude Era, peak Monday Night Wars. Every 5 people you encountered had a wrestling shirt on. Maybe that's an exaggeration,
NWO.
But
you said, NWO and DX on the playground.
And like think about it now, how often do you see like somebody wearing a wrestling shirt in public? But like somehow it's the most popular it's ever been. Like I've been trying to figure out myself like where's the disconnect on that? Because like when I go out and promote here in town, like it's discouraging at times because like most people just aren't that excited about it. Like we're like, oh yeah, we're doing a wrestling show. Can we put our flyer up? And they're just like, But it's a numbers game, and it's just reaching the right people to get to that level.
There's a fan base out there.
For sure.
There's a fan base out there, and I think, like you said, it's about reaching the right people. I think the Bloodline storyline. I've said it on this podcast. I think the Bloodline storyline is the greatest storyline since NWO. I think the industry needed that jolt of Roman Reigns and finally being who
he should have been the whole time.
And it took Triple H and Paul Heyman to kind of make him who he needed to be.
But I also think that they're lost again.
Well, yes, but I wouldn't say that the Bloodline exists currently in the form, but I believe that.
No, but the industry, like WWE's lost again. They don't know what to do. That's why
they're just collecting billions from Netflix,
right?
And it doesn't matter.
Yeah, they can put out whatever they want. They're going to get paid.
That's why you're seeing like great stuff on TNA, and AEW even has some good stuff, and New Japan always has good stuff. And
I got a question, and one of the questions that I actually wanted to ask you tonight.
Okay.
Now that everything's kind of evolved to where we're at, as a wrestler in the business, you've been doing this for a long time. What do you feel like guys like a Logan Paul, a Bad Bunny, guys that come in? I think Logan Paul has proven himself that he's an athlete. He can do certain things,
and he actually gives a shit.
And the spots that he's been given, big pay-per-views and things like that. How does that feel?
He's the main event at Saturday Night Main Event.
Yeah, how does that feel like to someone like you that have grinded and been working on in the indies and trying to make it, when you see a guy that got popular on YouTube that can just come over and just main event?
So I feel like if a wrestler was to feel a certain way about that's kind of them being emotionally irrational. Because you got to look at it from the bigger picture. This guy's got how many followers? Side. Yeah, this is getting eyes on the product. Like, why would you not want him around?
And he cares.
And he puts in the work.
And
Bad Bunny puts in the work.
Bad Bunny, in my opinion, is one of the best celebrity wrestlers that's ever come in.
But you can go back to the old days. Like they had Mr. T, they had Lawrence Taylor. Lawrence Taylor and Bam Bam Bigelow was actually an underrated match. In my opinion.
Yeah, Lawrence Taylor.
They've used Floyd Mayweather.
Mike Tyson.
Mike Tyson. Yeah.
Even what Pat McAfee's doing. McAfee's.
WWE is almost like
I wouldn't be surprised if Connor comes in.
The viral moment, like they want, like why what's his name, Ice Speed or whatever, got speared by Braun at the Royal Rumble. Like, that dude's got 5 million followers. Like, that was a moment that went viral. And that spear was nasty.
It was.
That's why Travis Scott was even involved in the fucking...
Yeah, Travis Scott's there, which totally ruined WrestleMania.
But he's got 60 million Instagram followers.
And that's all they care about.
That's all they care about.
It's like, come on. Like, you had Travis Scott interfere with the fucking main event.
And I heard he was training, too. And that he actually might be in a match.
Like, I've heard that, too.
Which, if he is, like,
Like, what's your... I'm going to get you from a fan standpoint here. What was your... Like, what's happening in wrestling right now in professional wrestling? What has got your interest the most?
Nothing.
Yeah. No, I respect
WrestleMania
that.
was like such an underwhelming thing.
Did you like our biggest moment for WrestleMania was the Heyman and Seth?
Oh yeah, that was great.
We could kind of see it coming, but like. That was you shouldn't be walking away from WrestleMania with night one main event.
Shane, it was a shitty build up and it was a shitty event.
There was some good matches.
There was great matches.
The women's 3-way, the men's 3-way.
I'm not going to take away from the matches. It was an entertaining night, but as far as like what's going on, it's like I don't feel like there's any direction right now.
There's not. I feel like they're not really sure what to do, and then I feel like whatever The Rock's got going on backstage and his uncertainty with his involvement has made everything cloudy, and it's just. I don't think they know. And
then they're like, we gotta make The Rock be involved in Elimination Chamber because we need to sell out the arena. Like, that ruined the whole thing.
But then he takes a back seat and doesn't show up for the Cody Cena thing, and it's like, well, the fuck, you were the main part of this. Like, you were everything.
How do you see this whole Cody thing or Cena thing ending? Do you think he walks away with the title, or do you think he gives it up at the end?
So that actually is a great question, and I think it's pretty unpredictable because I'm not really sure which direction they're going to go.
Do you think he walks away with a title and then they create a new title, or
I
could see that.
I feel like that would lessen the new champion a little bit. Like, you're not the real champion, and then
do you think? Like, I don't know what people think about John Cena, but I feel like I think John Cena respects the business a little too much to take that title and not give it up to somebody.
Yeah, I think he does too. John is very much a company man, and I think he's working in the confines of what he can do to protect his body right now, given where he's at in his career and his Hollywood career and all that.
And also do some different work.
He's
give the fans a lot of muscle mass.
Yes. But he can still sell. He can still do what he does. Still call spots out loud in a match, but but yeah, the wrestling business as a whole right now, it's in a weird spot because, like I said, going back to what I said in the last conversation, like, it's the most financially successful it's ever been, but then it's like you don't really hear about it on the mainstream level. TNA's doing some really good stuff.
So much talent.
So much. It's oversaturated, actually.
Yeah. Dude, I love. Like, I've said it on this podcast, I love what TNA is doing right now.
TNA's doing good
stuff. Joe Hendry is probably one of the most over wrestlers in the business right now. His pop at WrestleMania, and then
to get the RKO,
even caught Randy Orton by surprise, because like that pop that he got at the Royal Rumble and at WrestleMania, the two biggest events that WWE has, you got the biggest pop next to Alexa Bliss, who hasn't barely been on TV since Royal Rumble, and. Dude, that moment at WrestleMania, I'm glad that he got to experience that, because I think TNA is doing awesome things. What they're doing with Elijah, he came back to NXT the other night, and the whole crowd chanting welcome back. I still want him to be Elias, but it is what
they were chanting Elias.
Yeah, dude. I mean,
he's Elias.
Yeah, he's like what he does, and TNA, I think, is the most underrated company right now. And now that they have the WWE relationship, I don't know where that goes long term. Like, does Joe Hendry become... KT's talked about this. Does Joe Hendry just come to WWE? I know Jordan Grace did it, but I don't know where those...
Well, they're doing the match with Trick and Joe.
Yeah.
I don't know if y'all saw that contract signing. It was really good.
I did.
I really liked how they did that.
I like Trick.
Yeah, I like Trick too. AEW... makes me sad because they were so good at one point and then they fell off, and it's like they can't. Their wrestling is great. I mean, nobody's saying it's not, but it's like they can't get back to where they were.
KT brought it up earlier. When you have the inmates running the asylum, what happened with the WCW days, what eventually killed them when the guys were in charge of their own stuff.
And
Like,
Cody's
you've got
even
so
spoken to
much
this
talent
since he's come
over
back to WWE. He's talked
so
about
much
it.
talent over there with MJF, who's probably one of the greatest heels
MJF
in the
is
industry right now. And then you have Will Ospreay, who's probably one of the best wrestlers going right now. Omega, like, they got the talent there.
Ton of talent.
And it's
And
like,
ton of
Dean
good.
Ambrose.
Look at the minds they got in that locker room.
Championship in a briefcase. Like, you've got a problem when you don't have your belt on TV promoting your brand.
Right.
Like, how do you have that in a briefcase? When is that going to end? Like, is Moxley, like, involved in writing that? Like, what are we doing with that particular storyline? When you're a champion of an organization, you should be out front, and why is that belt in a briefcase? It doesn't make any sense. And that's one of the things that, we talked to Forrest about this. Like, AEW has so much potential, and it's just it misses it. Typical owner of the Jaguars. we fuck everything up. Whether it's football, wrestling, we own a soccer team. We'll probably screw that up too.
Damn. Yeah.
What do you have to say about that?
Which part? Yeah, I think there's so many good minds in that locker room, and I'm like, I get it. And I don't. Tony's a great guy. I've never met him, obviously, but I mean, I can tell he loves the business. I've seen how he talks about it. Yeah, he knows like every match and every finish ever. Like, it's crazy the recall he has in his mind for it.
He's such a fan that I bet you he gets like bamboozled by all the guys. Like, where it's like, yeah, that's a great idea. That's a great idea. That's a great idea. That's a great idea.
Sometimes you have to have that leadership that just says, no, we're going to do this. We're going to stick to this.
And that's where I think they're messing up right now, is they don't have that. They don't have somebody to really run it. Like, he's booking, but he's not running it.
Do you guys deal with that on the independent level where, like, someone has to step in and say, we've got to do this, but you've got several guys that say, well, this would be better. Like, do you have somebody in PWR that just, you don't have to name names or anything, but do you have somebody that's the end all be all that says, this is what we're doing because this is what's best for business? Or do you guys collaborate as a team?
We collaborate as a team, but you do have to have somebody that ultimately does make the final say, and we have that as well. And yeah, that's kind of my answer to that.
You also have to have humility too, right?
Absolutely.
I think that's the biggest thing.
And we want to collaborate because, like, I'm real big on like team culture and like that environment, and like people give the most when they're bought into something and feel like they're a part of something. And if you're just like, this is what we're doing, deal with it, they're not gonna want to give you their all. But when you make them feel involved and like they're a part of something, that's when
you have a camaraderie in the locker room.
Yes.
And what's going on.
And then you know
and
what
every
else?
time I've been to the PWR, like even at the last event we went to, Brady came to me and for the women's match, he was like, "You want to be a part of it?" And I was like, "Sure." And it was supposed to be something that ended up happening, but I went back and met the two women wrestlers, and they were so cool, and it seemed like everybody was like, "We're doing this, everything's going good," and it's like there's good vibes back here.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, we got a good group out there for sure, and everybody gets along. And like going back to what I said, like making everybody feel like they're a part of something. Like, and then when you do that, they don't get as salty when you do got to tell them no to an idea.
Yeah. And that, like, I know we're kind of, anyway, we're going to wrap it up here, but I know we're kind of come all the way full circle back to PWR. But, like, as a wrestler and someone that believes so much in your character and where you believe the story should go, like, what is it like to kind of sit back and say, man, I need to do this to better the company and move in the right direction? It may not be what I want to do. Is that a hard pill to swallow as a wrestler? Like, I know I need to I know I need to do this to put our company in a better picture. Like,
it's not a hard pill if you're not a selfish person. Yes, if you understand the bigger picture and the goal. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter who wins or loses.
And I think if you're comfortable in the direction, right? Like, that you feel comfortable. That you feel confident in the direction 100%. Of what's going on.
So I'll use like a great example. Look at like Shawn Michaels' second run. Mm-hmm. He never won the title. He had that little short 1 month reign. He literally just spent that whole run putting everybody else over. But did anybody ever see Shawn Michaels as a diminished individual because of it? No. And obviously he was putting on great matches too. But
I'll say this, Shane: if you're great in the business, it doesn't matter if you have the belt, right?
it really doesn't.
That means more to you than anything.
I mean, look at Undertaker. He was main eventing WrestleManias over the title because
For 20 years.
He in the streak became bigger than the belt. You know,
And the title didn't even mean shit
It didn't
compared
mean
to
shit.
the
Look at night one main event of this year's WrestleMania. No belt.
no belt.
yeah.
And it was the best story that came out of the whole weekend.
Yeah,
And that's just
And the belt story was
the,
shit.
the people were bigger than the belt.
both of them.
And what's the old saying? The man makes the championship. The championship doesn't make the man.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it comes down to.
And
just like
and
you,
Cena's a part timer,
are
and he's on his retirement tour.
Yeah.
So the belt doesn't mean shit right now. Like the other stories are more interesting than what the Cena thing is.
Actually,
but in PWR, the man is making the championship.
I'm trying. And yeah, going back to June 28th, I'm gonna bring it up again. You know, I hope Diva D does rehire Bravo because that needs to be taken care of. Not even just because I want to, but because I know the fans want to see it.
Yeah, I'm a fan, and I want to see Bravo. Where's Shane?
So let's get through the particulars. June 28th. Or we got a 6 p.m. start?
6 p.m. start.
6 p.m. start. We've got
OBs. D-Link.
Doors open at 5.
I think I saw $12 for adults, kids 12 and under
Free, and I think you can buy the pre-sale for 10.
10, yeah.
And we're talking about, I don't know if we're going to roll it out for this show. We're talking about doing like group discount packages and stuff like that too. Like if you buy 4 tickets, it's a discounted price.
Nice.
Cool. Yeah, whatever we can do, like we want to get people out there. We got Shane, the Element Evans Open Challenge. We've got the high voltage, I don't know what to call it, a rumble match. And some other matches on the card. It's going to be a great night. You guys come check us out. We'll be happy to.
Awesome night having Shane.
Yeah, it was a pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was an absolute pleasure. For
Shane,
sure.
we might have to have him on for part 2 for us. I don't know.
You can always bring me and Forrest on together, but we might be here. We might be here for like 5 hours if we do that.
We could talk forever. Like I feel like over this last hour, we've gotten to know you a little bit. And we feel like we could keep talking to you.
Oh, yeah.
I
just looked at the time. I'm like, we've been talking for that long?
Yeah.
We could go for another 3.
Yeah. I feel like just kind of talking about everything. But no, we appreciate
we need
you
more
coming
beers.
in.
Yeah,
like we Brewed Opinions and PWR have a nice relationship. And we want to keep forging that forward. And we can't wait to see you at Ascension. Handle your business. Lariat country,
I'm ready.
baby.
I'm ready. Lariat country.
And
will be there.
do you have anything for personally that you have coming up that maybe outside of PWR that you want to talk about? Or?
Yeah. So I'm gonna be at Riot Pro Wrestling on June 7th. No match announced yet for me, but I will be on the show.
Look out.
And I'll be working in Tennessee actually the week before Ascension. I'm gonna be in Crossville on June 20th for Resolute Pro, and then I'll be in IWF Tennessee the following night on the 21st. And then we got PWR on the 28th.
Awesome.
Man, busy man, dude.
Yeah, and I think we might try to squeeze a July show in for PWR between July and August.
Nice.
Just to get a little extra something that we got to see.
Nice. So. All right. Well, everybody, Shane the Element Evans, the man, the champ, the first and the only PWR heavyweight champion. There's been no other one.
And that's the way it should stay.
And he's the only one that can say he's the first and only PWR champ. And he's going to keep it that way for a long time. But KT, like we end every episode in the great words of Jackie Moon.
Yelly.
Everyone love everyone. Peace. Thanks, James.